All right, hello everyone. Welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be doing another VOD review of a friend of mine, actually the same person whose VOD I reviewed a couple weeks ago. This friend has now since then climbed a little bit. I believe they're somewhere in gold, and I think what they told me about this video is that they had trouble pivoting. So if this is something that you have trouble with or would like to learn more or like hear my thoughts about this, make sure to keep watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, so Wind Up Monkey. Wind Up Monkey is like, it's so annoying because like it's so non-problematic that I feel like I can't be mad at it, but I also hate it so much. I hate not knowing what's going to happen in 3.5. There's been times when I've been having like a rough game, trying to like be cling to as many life points as I can, and the stupid monkey just like dealt 10 damage to everyone. I really hate that. Okay, so got a bruiser start. Picked up a violet. I, in this case, would have picked up the Amumu instead of the violet, just because watchers are so good this patch. But you got Pit Fighter, so actually it's not terrible what happened. I would lean into exactly and put the violet for Pit Fighter. I know the set is a 2 cost, so technically it's, better, but I feel like that synergy would just help more in the long run, and that way you can also sell the set for gold. Still, none of that really matters in this phase anyway. They nerfed Unleash the Beast. Pit Fighter Crest sounds really nice. No Scout, no Pivot could have been good, but Pit Fighter Crest is probably what I would have taken too. No Scout, no Pivot is really, really good for comps like what I'm thinking you want to play right now. Any reroll comp that you have like at least a couple of the pieces that you need for that comp. If you have those at the start and you get no pivot, no scout, no pivot, that's just like infinite scaling for those pieces. Right now, Pit Fighter Crest would be something that you could just slam if you wanted. It doesn't matter too much. Okay, so you're greeting for econ. That's probably fine. Just got to be careful with that. Sometimes when you're doing reroll comps, it's sometimes worth. And I say sometimes, I mean most times when you're planning on playing reroll, it can be better to go for tempo over econ. So what I mean by that is like spend gold to get a couple 2 stars and solidify your board. I would pick up that violet. I would also pick up powder for the family angle. Let's see what he does. I wonder if they'll level up, and I'll have a comment if they do. They did level up. Okay. Okay. That's actually not bad. Because you were at a 15 gold position where like you were never gonna reach 20. It was, I mean, okay. It seems like your move right now was to like just accept and lose that first turn to greed for that extra 1 coin econ. It's not bad. I like where you went, but the other thing that I think I can say about that, just as like a teachable moment, you had, making it to 10 gold essentially is guaranteeing you +1 gold, right? However, winning also guarantees you a +1 gold. In the long run, if you're win streaking, if you get to that win streak, those like thresholds faster, you're just going to be making more gold anyway. It might have just been worth it to get to level 4 on 2-1. I honestly like, in the current meta, I think it is so important to preserve health that I feel like you should always be standard leveling at least this on 2-1 and on 2-5 right after the carousel. You should 4 and 5 I think are really, really important. More than anything, because you really like health is so valuable right now. And with reroll, in this like reroll meta that we're in, and also just like people, the non-reroll comps are all focused on 5 costs, like Enforcer, so like those guys are most like if they high roll and they hit all their pieces around 4-1, 4-2 in that first roll, then you're gonna want to have some health to um, survive stage 4. Anyway, that's very minor thing, but I do highly encourage people who are just like playing right now to always do 3-2, and that might change. I just mean in like the current state of the meta. You're actually getting pretty lucky with these natural rolls. I would be scouting those first top those the top 2 players right now because you can play against them. I don't know if you can see, but I would have scouted those 2. Try to scout all the people I'm playing against, and if you don't know how to do that, the little swords are indicators of who you might be playing against. And the reason why I said the top 2 is because both of these 2 top players had those things. I'm assuming usually at this stage that they have the strongest boards if they've made it this far without losing. And if you're going to play against them, you want to make sure that you can beat them. Because had you, for example, had this person actually had a stronger board than you, which is totally possible, you would have uh, broken your streak very early and kind of not, it put you in a non ideal situation this early. Um, but you could have gone to level 5 early to play a little bit more aggressive. I'm going to explain that a little bit better in a second. I want to see what you pick. Okay, you got belt, solid pick. Okay, so what I was saying just now, we're here, right? It's 2-3. It's about to be 2-3. You might be paired against one of these 2 players. And to be honest, even these, like right now, all of these people could be strong because we don't have enough like health difference to know who's actually strong or who got unlucky. Um, but there is a chance you might play against these 2. Before you get to play against them, you want to scout. Like you want to check those boards out and see, okay, my board might not win. An easy way to see it is just like, well, do they have better synergies than you? Do they have better items than you? Do they have higher level, higher cost pieces than you? If it seems fairly like you'll get better assessing these instances over time, but had this person had just barely like had his board been barely stronger, um so for example, okay, this is his board, this is your board. They essentially have like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a value of 8 gold here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yours is actually lower value than theirs. Here you probably won because you have 4 pit fighter, and that's like just what like made your board be slightly stronger than his. But it barely happened. Like if you look at it, this is very like specific coaching. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but hopefully it is. I like to break down moments like these. Okay, now you're scouting, which is kind of fine. I don't know. I try not to scout during combat as much, unless it's like end of combat. But yeah, here, like, it was barely close. In a situation like that, you were 17 gold at the start of this round, correct? What I would have done is, again, here, in this moment, I would have scouted. And then had I seen that board, I'd been like, oh, I actually don't know if I can beat that. They have higher cost. Like, sure, I have Pit Fighter, but I'm still not sure if I would win this or not. I would have just rolled experience twice, made it to level 5 early, like here, to guarantee that I'm going to win. Like at least it increases my odds by a lot. And since I was in 17, well, I would have been 16. You would have rolled down to 8, won the round, made 9. You could have sold the Violet and made 10 and still been an econ and like not actually lose on that. I do feel like momentum is very important. Even if you hadn't made econ after rolling those 8 gold, it still would have been a good decision, in my opinion. Okay. I'm gonna push forward. I think you're hanging on to your items a little bit too much considering you're win streaking. You want to slam that Sunfire Cape at least. By far, Sunfire Cape is the best slammable item in your thing. Yeah, a little slow on that, but that's okay. And honestly, oh, you didn't level to 5. That was a big mistake as well. Again, only time you don't want to level to 5 here is if you're like doing a loose streak strategy, which I still don't recommend too much in the current meta. But yeah, here you would have still, had you paid 4 gold, you would have stayed in 20. No econ loss. That was just like a blunder. It happens. I have a feeling you might not level to 5 here either because you want to stay above 30. Okay. I'm just gonna take note of that as probably the biggest mistake I'm noticing in your early game. You're greeding for gold maybe a bit too much, particularly for your what you've committed to Pit Fighter. Although if I remember correctly, you did say you had issues pivoting. So I'm curious if you end up playing Pit Fighter. I don't know. We'll see. I've noticed this today. I was playing in my Smurf account around gold as well. A lot of people still playing Renata or in Visionaries. Very, very surprised. I play like 4 games, and all of them had like 2 or 3 people playing Renata. They all did bottom 4. You got lucky there with the win because you stayed level 4 and managed to win. But that's I've already commented on that. Small thing, although it doesn't matter, but I'll say it anyway. Urgot front line is pretty bad right now. They nerfed him last night, and they really want him to be a backline, like not even backline, but like second row carry. He is not tanky anymore. He doesn't even do a lot of damage. I almost want to say that they nerfed him so much that he's really just a synergy bot. You only take him because you want Pit Fighter right now, or Experiment. Don't sleep on the powder. You're not picking powder. At this point, what I would do is sell the Urgot on my bench to make 51 and then buy the powder. Because that way I'm above 50 and still have an important piece. I don't really need to greed for Urgot unless I'm level 6 maybe or something, but yeah, even then he's not doing much. Your positioning is not great right now. You're putting your 2 tanks in the center and your 2 melee carries on the side. You're guaranteeing, usually, particularly at this point of the game, everyone has their carries on either corner or corner, which usually means they'll hit the closest character to them, which in this case would be your 2 carries, and I'll show you what I mean by that. You're getting away with it just because your board is like fairly strong, or other people are playing like pretty bad boards. I don't even know what this is. But what I mean here is like, this is their carry. They're always going to hit the closest thing to them. And in this case, it's your Violet. Had their carry been on this hex, they would have hit your Urgot. That's why usually you want to have your main tank on the side where the main carry is. Obviously, at this point, you don't really know. So you could just have Vander on this side because he's a tank, and Darius on this side, or whatever. If you scout, you could always like make sure there's more people putting their carries on this side. So I might just put my main tank there. It's positioning is something that I feel like goes very unnoticed until probably like high plat, maybe emerald, diamond. And particularly with melee characters, people forget that these guys, they're damage dealers, and they just die. If they die quickly, they're useless. Okay. Pandora's items, bulky buddies, support mining. If I had to say something out of these 3, Pandora's Items is my favorite right now. And I think you reroll that one first. Family in particular, Pit Fighter and Family, is very item demanding. You want to have items on your Draven, you want to have items on your Violet. Um, so you right now don't have a great item situation. You have a couple tank items and like caster item, you know, like what there's not you don't have damage items, is what I'm trying to say at this point. Pandora's items would greatly improve your situation because you have a bunch of components here that aren't going to do much for you with this comp. And this just guarantees you finding, and particularly because you have 4 items on your bench, you can basically pick and choose whatever item you want. In 2 turns, you'll get all the items you want, basically. And 1 more component just helps with that. Okay, you're thinking bulky buddies. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Bulky buddies can be fine. It's more of a combat augment. So like your team is not in a spot where it's really needing, like it doesn't get a lot from bulky buddies. Bulky buddies is just gonna make your, oh, you're pivoting. Did I miss? Is there a reason why you're pivoting? Was there someone contesting you? I didn't notice that. Or are you pivoting because you noticed that you had 2 tiers and you got a Heimerdinger naturally? I think that might be your reasoning. I'm gonna say that was not a great decision. Biggest reason why is because you have the board. You had the board, at least. They were 1 cost, sure, but you had the board. And 2, you have an emblem. You've committed to Pit Fighter emblem. Even if someone were contesting you, chances are you have an advantage because you have the Pit Fighter emblem. It's more likely that they'll stop contesting you. Oh, you've downgraded your board a lot. Okay. Interesting. In case you didn't know, I'm assuming, I don't know. Yesterday's video, I talked about like some good comps, or like I made a video on comps, so check that out if you haven't. But visionaries have been kind of nerfed fairly hard. Renata has been nerfed. Visionaries as a whole has been nerfed. Visionary 6. They've nerfed Singed. That was a very big part of that comp. The only comp for Heimerdinger right now that's worth taking is Academy. Academy Heimerdinger is still good. I don't know where you're gonna go with this at this point, but if I were to, like, you know, we can't, particularly in TFT, you can't cry about spilt milk, right? Like if you've made a blunder like that, you got to just figure out the next way to get better. Right now, the next way to get better is lean to Academy. You have a Leona in your thing in your store. That would give you Sentinel and 1 step closer to Academy. Vander is pretty sus. He's not serving us any purpose there. Even in the visionary comp. Yeah, your board is really weak now, unfortunately. One world where this could have maybe stopped you from bleeding this stage would have been back here when you decided to pivot to Heimerdinger. Actually roll all your gold to pivot correctly. Because if you rolled all your gold there, sure, chances are you get the Morganas, you get the Vexes, you get the Rels, Renata, you know, all those pieces you probably would have gotten with the amount of gold you had. At least giving you a couple 2 stars. You're sleeping on this Morgana. Okay. Yeah, early game, this entire, I mean, stage 2 and stage 3, biggest issues. I don't know, biggest. I would say econ, you're greeting way too much econ. And again, that's one of those things that like it's just keeping up with the meta, and and econ is not, it's not the priority. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, what are you? You've slept on some very important pieces, and even if you're level 7, your board is really weak. Nunu's a visionary if you want it. That Vander has been in there for too long, not doing anything. Okay, you got the Nunu. Swain is another piece that was really strong last patch, but as of today got nerfed. Most of his builds got hit pretty bad. Sorcerers, no, I mean, okay, you can still run sorcerers, you can still run LeBlanc, just that they're not as guaranteed anymore for like top 4. Yeah, skip level 7, I suppose. But I'm not sure what you're gonna go for because you didn't buy any 2 costs. Like, you didn't guarantee any 2 costs, you're not securing any 2 stars. And you're kinda just relying entirely on your Heimerdinger 1 to do everything. Okay. Another anomaly could be good. Piercing Lotus could be good. Glass Cannon could be good. The problem with Glass Cannon is that you do not have the front line for it. Another anomaly could benefit had you, like, gone for a tank anomaly. That way you get 2, like, if you get, wait. Yeah, I get what you're doing, but, you're so behind on board strength that I feel like that's gonna hurt you more than help. If there's any Smeech players, if there's any Ambessas, Twitch, anything that can reach your backline, they're gonna be deleted. Even that Zoe could probably do a lot. Yeah. Glass Cannon can be really good. I usually only take it when I'm playing comps that have like 6 Sentinels, 6 Watchers, or like where I have just an insanely strong front line for whatever reason. Like 4 Sentinels, 4 Watchers, 4 Bruisers, and like an Ambessa, something that gives me like my whole team resistance. Or if I have like another augment that improves my team's resistance. Or if I'm really ahead. Those are the times I would take Glass Cannon. But since you have a weak board, you're not ahead in life, it makes it a little bit more punishing than it should be. Well, this is a moment when I'll say this. In 4-2, you went to level 8, and you wanted to either test the waters, which is what you did, or roll down all your gold to get that Heimer 2, or at least make your board stronger. But consistently, now that we're like entering mid game, or like we're in the middle of mid game, consistently, the biggest issue here has been greeting your gold too much. You want to really strengthen your board to not bleed out. And by strengthening your board, I just mean locking in those 2 stars, locking in the 1 cost, 2 cost, 2 stars. A lot of people sleep. I feel like people who want to do standard leveling often sleep on rolling on level 6. Like, if your board isn't strong at level 6, like all your 1 cost and 2 costs are 1 star at level 6, then you really need to roll some gold to strengthen your board. In the long run, it'll be worth it. Like, obviously don't roll all your gold, but don't stay above 50, because now you're rolling, because now you're freaking out that you're gonna lose. but it's too late for that. Okay, that was lucky. I'll just slam that tier on him. No, no, no. On the okay. You know, your pit fighter emblem gives stats. Even if you don't have pit fighters on your board, it still gives I forget what stat. Is it like health? Crit? I don't know. But if you hover your mouse, you can tell what it is. Oh, okay. I would be prioritizing tank anomalies if I'm being honest. Your front line is super weak. I low key think Vex like oof, because you have 1-star Vex and 1-star Morgana, it's kind of hard. This is gonna be very like min-maxing, but Vex 1-star is probably stronger than Morgana 1-star. Yeah, you should also grab that copy of Morgana. You're not gonna go if like econ is your bench is empty, you're not gonna go underneath 30, even if you lose. Oof. Surprised that like you're cutting it this close with some of them. I think you're pretty much toast at this point, unfortunately. Yeah, you gotta pick up those low cost copies. That like that Morgana. Your Morgana's 1-star. Morgana again. Don't forget you have an item. Anvil. I'm not quite sure what you're rolling for anymore. Why not the Rel though? Your Ilaoi is stronger than the Rel. Okay. The game's out of your hand. Like I feel like you either tilted really hard at this point or just completely lost sight of things. Jesus, and you won that. That's impressive. No flame, I promise. Yeah, that's okay. There's a singed. You can't really place him. This is a very awkward board. You're also there's a Renata right there too on your board bench. Did you like and did you for some reason I'm gonna ask this and I'm not trying to flame or anything, but did you for some reason forget like think that your Morgana and your Renata were 2-star and you were just like not worried about it anymore? I can see that happening where you like assumed you leveled them up earlier and then forgot about it. So like later you're just like not picking up copies. I don't know. I can see that happening. Okay, so I think the three biggest things that I've noticed. One, don't oh my god, my apostrophe's poor. Whatever. Don't read econ as much as you did. Definitely that's like the most consistent error you had throughout the thing. There were a lot of small and big errors throughout the thing, but this is the one thing you did throughout the entire game. There were parts where I was like, okay, that makes sense. And particularly at the start, you managed to naturally get a really good family pit fighter board. So I was like, okay, this is actually a part where you could probably greed econ because you're just gonna accumulate gold and then roll down hard to 3-star all your 1-star, your 1-cost pieces, right? You kind of tunneled visioned on 3-2 when you got a copy of Heimerdinger and you saw that you had like blue buff. Which could have also been fixed by taking Pandora's Bench. Because I think you like felt like you couldn't play family uh, family pit fighter because you didn't have the items for it, but you even had an out on that sense. So 2, I guess like be mindful of like the augments and what position you're in. And so what I mean by this is like there's going to be the way I choose augments is fairly simple. If the comp I want to play needs a lot of items, family being one of them, I prioritize that. However, if I need gold for whatever reason, like if I I low rolled for a bunch of free rolls and just didn't get my copies, so I'm like it's later in the game and I get an augment to get a lot of gold, and I just need that gold to get back in the game and like level up. I'll take that regardless of whether I have items or not because I feel like that is the best way for me to stay in the game for a little longer. So your augments are like you're never gonna just pick augments based on their tier list, if that makes sense. Like you may open a guide and see, oh, okay, this is S tier, this is A tier, et cetera, because they are so situational that like sometimes a C tier could be S tier in a particular situation. I hope that makes sense. And three, I think you also just like had a bad read on the meta. You pivoted to a very bad comp, and granted, patch came out today. You probably weren't like fully aware that visionaries had been nerfed and like it wasn't really strong. But even if we were playing this game yesterday, for example, on the previous patch, you didn't roll, you didn't solidify your team. You let your 2 costs and 1 cost stay as 1 star for the entire game. And you were given several options, like you were given a lot of Morganas, you were given a lot of Renatas, uh, and you just like you didn't pick those up. Easy way to say bad read on meta. You know, I know you're not someone who plays like 24/7 or anything. Um, but this game changes very quickly, like literally day by day, the meta changes. And particularly the first few days of the patch. Patches tend to last 2 weeks. First few days, meta changes very quickly. So just like open a guide or like look at stats or something, like see what's strong, pull up Twitch and see what someone's playing. That's an easy way to just kind of like know what's doing well. Um, then mindful of augments. This is just a skill that once you earn it, like once you learn about your board strength and how to read augments, this is one of those like evergreen skills that regardless of the set, it'll be a skill that like translates to future sets. And don't greed econ is one of those things that like is so meta dependent, right? Like if uh, particularly right now in set 13, econ hasn't been the best thing because people are getting really strong boards early. Right now on reroll, if you bleed out all your HP early game because people are playing reroll uh, comps like 2 cost reroll like Zeri, Renata, etc., Urgot, you're going to get a lot of damage early, and you need to like make your board stronger, even if it's to like you might not be win streaking, but at least you're not getting like your ass kicked, basically. Um, yeah, I I hope I wasn't too harsh with all that. That those are all like very. I feel like it takes a while. It takes practice and like playing to get better at them. I think the one thing that's really easy to fix though is this bad read on meta. It's just oh, and maybe 4. This is also like a thing that's been consistent with your play, but you tunnel hard on on an issue and don't realize that sometimes there's solutions for that issue happening. What I mean, I think I noticed this in the previous games that I've watched you play, but like here you were like, I don't have items for this comp, so I need to think of a different comp. You were already like, I got to pivot, and because you were so focused on like, I've got to pivot, you weren't mindful of all the solutions that the game was providing for you naturally, right? You were given Pandora's bench. You were given a bunch of like natural uh, Renatas, Vex, Morgana. Even when you were like making mistakes later, like after you had pivoted, the game was still kind of like giving you these escape ropes, and you didn't take them. So that is something that I think just getting to know the pieces and like keeping your head cool. I think this has to do a lot with mental. You're um like not panicking when something's not going the way you had planned initially. Sometimes there are ways out, and like that's really important to learn. Just how to get out of a bad situation. Cool. Thank you so much for sending me this game. I definitely see like parts that you've improved, and um, I don't know, like I've also seen you climb, so that's also really exciting. And keep these things in mind. Hopefully, this was also helpful to people who struggle with pivoting, and maybe some of these small tips and like things I like spoke about were helpful. Um, yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Happy rolling.